I love thinking about the things that not everyone saw. It's the reason why I survived and why I rose. In the back of the ambulance, all of my words were blurred, like I was quite distressed, nothing made sense. But the one thing that I kept on saying was that we were on Wurrung country. Those sort of comments, they absolutely hurt, but it was fully counteracted by the power and love of the Black community.
The resilience is so deep within your soul about how determined you were to get to New York. So what did it feel like when you crossed the line?
Do you remember the tennis ball thing?
Yes. Hello and welcome to Community Conversations. At Clothing the Gaps, we often say that it's more than a tea, it's a conversation starter. And this podcast is where those conversations continue as we sit down with inspiring people from community to talk about justice, advocacy, and the stories of the movements that got us to where we are today and those shaping the future. My name is Sarah Sherry. I'm non-Indigenous and the co-founder of Clothing the Gaps, alongside Gunditjmara woman Laura Thompson. We're all about working to each other's strengths in our partnership. I love hosting and asking questions, and Laura prefers to be interviewed, so here we are. We're recording today on Wurrung and Bunurong country, and I honour the traditional owners of these lands. I pay my respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Today, I am so thrilled to finally get to record a podcast with my dear friend Sissy Austin. Sis, we've talked about doing this forever, and I'm so excited that we finally get to do it. Summing up an intro for Sis was actually really hard, as she wears many hats across community, work, and as an individual. But for today's chat, here's where we'll start. Sissy is a proud Gunditjmara, Keerray and Djab community member. You're a passionate runner, a staunch truth teller, and the founder of the movement Take Back the Track. In 2023, Sissy was selected for the Indigenous Marathon Project, a program supporting First Nations runners to train for and run the New York City Marathon. But earlier that same year in February, Sissy was violently attacked while out running near Ballarat in the Lau State Forest on Woorroong country. In the months that followed the attack, Sissy not only reclaimed her love of running, she went on to complete, and might I say smash, the New York City Marathon, and then launched Take Back the Track, a movement centred on the right of women and gender diverse people to run safely and reclaim public space. Sissy, welcome to Community Conversations.
Thanks, Sis. Thanks for having me and thanks for that introduction.
No worries. It is so lovely to get to be sitting here doing this with you, Sis. I really mean it.
Yeah.
Sis, I'd love to start off with a couple of questions about running and why running is so important to you and what has it brought to your life?
Yeah, I often reflect on what I love about running, and I think the main things are connection, like connection to ourselves, like with our body, mind and spirit, connection to country, connection to the broader running community. And I also love, the discipline that running brings, the structure when you're training for those longer distances, like the structure that it kind of gives to your personal life outside of work. I just love the challenge of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does, like the discipline and the structure, I completely agree. Like I feel like when you, especially if you're training for long distance running, it really does underpin everything that you decide about your whole week.
Yeah.
And it really forces you to carve out time for yourself in that.
It does.
Hey?
Yeah. And because there's like, especially training for the longer distances, like there's no cutting corners in getting there. So you do really have to follow that structure and discipline. And then it kind of like once you, apply that to your running life, I've noticed that over the years since running for such a long time, like it does transfer into other elements of your life and the structure and the resilience in that. So deadly. I love running.
You spoke a bit there, Sis, about running being a connection piece for you. And we've spoken a lot about how running is a big part of you in connecting to country as well. And what does it feel like to move through country in that way while you're running?
Running is like a major form of connection to country for me, and it's the freedom of being out on country. It's exploring places that you may not explore otherwise. its connection to all the elements of country, like the smells. We're aware of the health of country runners, and I don't think the entire running community across the country would really appreciate or understand the connection that they actually do have to country. I think a lot of us, especially First Nations runners, draw a lot of strength from and inspiration from country whilst running. And like, I love seeing our totems out there on our run, my run, but we're running together, you know, us and me and country.
That's really powerful, sis. And I think you're right. Like, I don't think non-Indigenous runners see and feel that in that same way. When I think about, and when I hear you talk about, you know, the power and the freedom that you feel in running. Yeah. Really, when, you know, and we've spoken a lot about the impact that your attack had for you on running. And I just wanted to, so in February 2023, I just wanted to touch on that if you're comfy to do that this morning. Of you were attacked while you were out running. Yeah. You know, in your happy place, in your place of, you know, calm and connection and power. Can you share a little bit with us about what happened? And in 2023, I did experience an assault whilst running in the Lau Lau State Forest on Wurrung country. And that assault, in it happening whilst I was doing what I loved, running on country, it came with like layers of grief and trauma. And it's massive, sis. Like, to have somebody do that to you while you were in your happy place is huge. And that grief that you spoke about there, of like, of grieving your happy place and the love that you had for running, and it's you know, and just as you were reflecting on that deep connection to and your love of country, that would have been really tough for you. Yeah, it was really tough. And I've still I don't think I would ever go back and run in that place. And I did spend a lot of time grieving the love and connection that I did have to that certain place. Like, it is really, really beautiful part of Wurrung country. And it had a massive impact on me. But I think what kind of like broke my heart the most was seeing the impact that it had on the community around me. I think what I realized, that it was like an attack and an assault on one of us. It was actually an attack on all of us. And I think a lot of women and gender diverse runners, and especially us as mob, they kind of saw themselves in me. And if it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. So that really hurt at the time too, seeing the impact that it had on community. There was a lot of community support for you after the attack. There really was. Was there anything that surprised you out of that? There was so much community support. I love thinking about the things that were kind of, you know, that not everyone saw. And even just getting home from the hospital, someone that we both know, my beautiful friend Tarneen, there was like a story. I had really, really overly ripe bananas in my kitchen at the time. And when I got home from the hospital, like, Tarneen had driven up from Naarm up to Ballarat and gone straight to my house. And I love that Tarneen saw the bananas. And you know, when you see overripe bananas, they're there for a reason. Like, they're there for banana bread. It's the only thing they could ever possibly be used for. And bless Tarneen, best cook ever. I know. And I loved, there was the really hard things after the attack. Like, there was some pretty bad experiences, but it's those experiences, like getting home to the smell of Tarneen having baked banana bread. And now we just have this ongoing thing where I'm like, when I see overripe bananas, I think of Tarneen and like the warmth that Tarneen coming up from Naarm to my house, but also like, that kind of, smell of baked banana bread. And there was like, just like so many people contributed in their way to my healing journey. And it's the reason
why I survived and why I rose, like because of everyone collectively, I guess, contributing to my healing journey and believing in my recovery.
And community care is so powerful in that. Like, it looks like lots of different things in lots of different moments.
Yeah, it is. And it's just like, it's even Uncle Andy, you know, who was at VARS at the time, and Uncle Andy drove up as well to like just hang out with me. Just like so many things, even like, you know, the power of black music at that time. Like, there was only certain artists that my brain could actually cope with listening to. Like, I had a pretty significant concussion and then post-concussion syndrome, but like there was certain artists that I could listen to and feel at peace with, and like Emily Warramara and Alice Skye were two of the key. Like, I just had them on repeat after the attack. But yeah, even I recently, like mid last year, reconnected with the paramedic that attended on the day, and even like connecting, like I guess reuniting with Jack, the paramedic from Ambulance Victoria. That was like a really powerful moment in my healing journey as well, and like going back to connection to country for our people, something that I learned about myself, that I guess like I always like talk about how we're so connected and at one with country, but Jack shared with me something that I obviously hadn't remembered properly because I was concussed and stuff. But yeah, he shared with me that in the back of the ambulance, like all of my words were blurred, like I was quite distressed, nothing made sense. But the one thing that I kept on saying was that we were on Wurrung country. And he said, like, as a white man, like he just couldn't believe it, like that nothing else made sense in what I was saying in the trip from out in the bush into town. But I knew which country and whose country I was on. And I think like, it was Jack sharing that I've learned that our connection to country isn't something that's in our brain. Like I was concussed, I had a head injury. Our connection to country is in our spirit, and even, you know, a violent assault, a head injury, a concussion, it doesn't take away the knowing of who we are and our connection to country. And I just feel so grateful that I had the opportunity to connect with Jack and that he could share that with me, because I understood and understand deeper our connection to country more than ever.
One of the things that I love from that story and that moment is that not only did you know exactly where you were, you wanted to make sure that everybody else did too, which does not shock me one bit in the slightest. Before you were telling Jack where you were, you made sure that he knew, and you quizzed him, you asked him, you said, well, do you know where we are, whose country on? And what did he say, and how did that make you feel?
I did like that, and that was how like it started, me just saying, do you know whose country you're on? And when he said Wurrung, I immediately felt relieved and like I was safe in the back of the ambulance. And Jack did share with me like how obviously scared and quite distressed I was, but like once we had that small, and it didn't go on forever, I think it was just this really quick short moment where he knew, and once he said Wurrung country, he said that I was right for the rest of the trip. And it was a really profound moment, and it had a ongoing a positive impact. It was something to draw strength from in my healing journey, that there was still good people out there in the world.
And in a moment where you would have, I would imagine Sis felt so incredibly vulnerable and terrified, to have that sense of a little bit of safety in that the people who you hoped were looking after you had a bit of understanding and respect for something that was really important to you too. And I think perhaps sometimes for non-Indigenous people, they can think that, you know, it's not really that important to know you know, who the traditional owners are or
Yeah.
what that looks like. But to understand and know that is so important.
Yeah, and it was literally all I needed in the moment. I didn't need anything more from Jack or like from the paramedics. In that moment, all I needed to know was that he knew whose country he was on, and that was enough in that moment. Yeah, it didn't need to be anything more. Yeah.
I just have this like image of you being like, but do you know whose country you're in? And I'm sure it's probably went exactly like that.
Yeah, it probably did.
Sis, when you were ready to start running again, when you'd physically healed enough to be able to lace your runners back on, how long after your attack was that? And what did that first run actually really feel like?
Yeah, I think it was around 3 months after the assault that I put the runners back on, and I think it was like putting the runners back on that was the first step. I'd just spent like 3 months in slides and socks, and that was my comfort. And just like, going back into the runners was a big deal. And then, the first run, I think, you know, I kind of just realized that I'm human. It was hard. Like, it was always going to be hard. And I think, like, so was, like, the 10th and the 15th run after that. But that first run, I can remember I just did a little jog around the soccer oval near my house. And, I realized I was human, that it was going to be a long journey, but that I was willing to go on it. And, I knew that I had my community supporting me, so I didn't feel alone.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you didn't feel alone in that, sis.
Yeah.
You really did have not everybody may have been running, directly with you in that moment, but I know we were all thinking of you.
Yeah.
As you lace back up those shoes. And I guess, sis, like, you spoke about your first couple of runs being at the soccer oval, which is just such a contrast to, I guess, like your happy place of running, which is out bush as well. Like, it took a while for you to go from running through the streets, I guess.
Yeah.
Back to being out bush, hey?
Yeah, and where I was living at the time, there was a beautiful trail just across the road. Like, I could see it from the soccer oval, but, I wasn't willing to run on it. I can't remember how many runs it took, but I just ran laps. It just, it just had to be the soccer oval for a little bit there, which was so boring, but it was necessary. And I acknowledge, I respect the soccer oval. Like,
no shade to the soccer oval.
No, nothing towards, the soccer oval. It provided me with that, chapter in my journey back to running that I needed.
Yeah.
And, it just, there was no timing on my healing and what I was going to do next. It was all about being in tune with what I was ready for and not pushing any further. And, I'm glad that I didn't push too early.
Tell me about that moment when you crossed the road there and you went from the soccer oval into the trail.
I didn't plan it. I just crossed the road and did like a little section up and then back again. It wasn't like this, oh my God, like this is incredible moment. It was kind of like those thoughts come back in your head. Like, am I asking to be attacked? Like, what am I doing? People are going to judge me. They're going to think like, those kind of like thoughts were in my head. Like, people are watching me. She should be on the soccer oval. Those kind of like thoughts were probably in my head a lot of the time, like thinking that I was doing something wrong by going back on the trails, but which is such an unfair
certainly
a journey.
Absolutely. And it's such an unfair expectation. I think that especially as women that we put on ourselves of it's that narrative of this was our fault. I shouldn't have been out running on the trails. And I think it's probably worth mentioning too, sis, that post your attack there was actually an enormous amount of media attention as well, like that you were on most of the the mainstream Channel 7 News, all of those, like the
And the Black community response was what carried me through that time. But like, it would be, kind of presenting a false narrative if I didn't mention that there were people in Ballarat that were absolutely brutal after the attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to like cry, but they were like the comments on community forums, because it was the year of the referendum. And I just remember reading like some of the comments that were like she's a activist, she's doing it because of the referendums coming up, she set it up, like those sort of comments from like the racist white people in Ballarat. They absolutely hurt, but so grateful that it was fully counteracted by the power and love of the Black community.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't realise I would go there.
No, that's okay.
But it's important to acknowledge, like, not everything's perfect in a healing journey, and the headlines weren't like, as you see with non-Indigenous runners that have experienced assault or violence or harassment. The headlines normally, like female runner attacked. But like the headlines for me was like Aboriginal activist attack. Like that's what the headlines were. Like it was always.
It's like Aboriginal activist incident.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at about April 2023 at this point.
Yeah.
Back in time. At what point did you try out for the New York Marathon? Can you talk me through how you felt when you were still really suffering from like post-concussion?
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy journey at all for you.
Yes.
When you did your interview with Indigenous Marathon Project, can you talk us through all of that and that whole journey?
Yeah, so part of the Indigenous Marathon Project application, you do the like written application at the beginning, and then you attend tryouts, and then you have an interview with the coaching staff. And so prior to the attack, I had I'd done the written application, and then the attack happened. I had a really bad concussion, as I've mentioned, and I missed the tryouts. But at the time, Rob D. Costello, who's the founder and CEO of the Indigenous Marathon Project, he had called me and said that I could still might be considered, even though I couldn't make the tryouts, that there's time for me to recover and that he'll get back to me or whatever. And then a few weeks later, he did get back to me, but I didn't believe him. I continued being sad, actually, because I was like, I've always followed the Indigenous Marathon Project and never applied, and I felt like the timing was really right in my journey to apply for it. But yeah, continued being sad because of the concussion. I forgot that Rob had called me, and then he called me back and asked if I still wanted to, like a few weeks later. And I was like, no, I missed the tryouts. And he was like, no, I called you like a few weeks ago and said you could still be considered. And I remember like going through my call log being like, no, he didn't. Like
he's lying.
Yeah, he's lying.
Rob's lying.
But he wasn't lying, and I did my tryout in another way. Like that first run was actually with a running app where I had to do a run and then screenshot the run and send it in to the coaching staff. And then I had the interview. I lost, like I really struggled to talk after the attack. Like I lost a lot of my speech and I was talking really, really slowly, but I was still determined to do this interview with the coach, Damien. And I just said to him, I'm struggling to find my words, but you've just got to like give me time and I'll get through answering the questions. And it was the first time I'd looked at a computer screen, like to do the Zoom meeting. Like there was a lot of firsts in that. Like part of it was that I needed to get a doctor's clearance, given that I was, still concussed a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And so, the coach, Damien, asked me to contact my doctor to see if I'd get the approval to the tick to run, like health-wise. And, yeah, that day I'd called Dr. Greta. We all love Dr. Greta.
Enter Dr. Greta.
She wrote the letter, but I remember she wrote like this one line at the bottom of the letter that was like, unsure how Sissy will go, but like willing to, I guess, support it in a way. And I remember thinking like, why would you say you're unsure?
Red rag to a bull.
Do you not? I was thinking Greta has ruined it. Even though the rest of the letter was great.
You did get selected
Yeah.
into the Indigenous Marathon Project,
Yeah.
which was so exciting. The other thing about that, I guess, is that IMP has an age cutoff as well. So
Yes.
you were
Yeah.
turning 30
Yeah.
that year.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like, you were like, it's now literally or never.
Yeah, and I just spent, like, I was 29. I'd been a kinship carer for almost 10 years. Like, my entire 20s were raising and caring for kids, and it was the first time in my life where I actually didn't have any kids in my care. Like, my cousin did eventually come back into my care a few months later, but it just felt like the right time, and and also the age cut off, the 30 thing.
Which I think, probably helps just explain to some of our listeners perhaps why you were so adamant. They're like, you're like, you don't understand. I have to do it this year.
But like being selected, it just felt like it was just the biggest blessing from the ancestors. Like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't, have had that journey to then focus on after the attack. Like it was, the ancestors like really lined it up deadly for me in that moment.
They really did. And then they wanted you to go swimming a lot.
Yeah.
Because then you got a stress fracture in your foot.
Yeah, my leg.
Yeah, your leg, that's right.
Yeah. The stress fracture kind of early on in my leg was like, it was pretty shit. But our physio, Sheena, coach Damien, they still believed in me. But, I had to run in the water, and I'd never done deep water running before. If you've not done deep water running before, just like imagine this flotation belt strapped around your waist, and then you get in the water deep enough so that your feet can't touch the ground. Some people think like you're actually just running on the surface of the pool. And then, you're kind of just running with the resistance of the water. And it is so hard.
Which just really speaks to the resilience that is so deep within your soul about how determined you were to get to New York. So what did it feel like when you crossed the line?
Do you remember though the tennis ball thing?
Yeah, so you just used to run with two
That was
balls.
because like I could see the proper swimmers in the lanes across me using like tennis balls as part of their swimming training. And I was like, oh yeah, like I've got to like make the most out of this time in the pool, and because you're not meant to like use your hands as fins. So then I was like, I might bring tennis balls myself. And so I was like running up and down this pool every single day with tennis balls in my hands. But then what was funny was that when I eventually got the all clear to go out onto the track, was that I felt like I couldn't run without the balls in my hands. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did like my entire rest of my training. And I remember people being like, there is no way you'll run that marathon with the balls in your hands. Yeah.
So when you were carrying your tennis balls across the New York City Marathon finish line, what was that moment like?
Yeah, I think everyone that's run a marathon knows that finish line is a really emotional moment, and you've just kind of like gone through a lifetime of emotions and drawing on strength, resilience, reflecting on the journey that you've gone on to get here, and then crossing the finish line is just like, it's hard to even actually really find words for that feeling of like just pure pride in yourself, the acknowledging the strength and the resilience that we carry as blackfellas in this country. Like I've talked a lot about how I was in search for a new hard on the marathon, and whilst it was incredibly hard in terms of like hard, it didn't feel like the hardest hard that I have ever experienced, and it actually made me really sad in a moment while I was running the marathon. I feel like it was around the 30 to 35K mark where I was like getting really emotional because I was like, when is this thing going to get hard? And yeah, we'd heard from a lot of mostly white men about the hardness of the marathon, and yeah, still acknowledging that it's hard, but it's nothing compared to what our people face daily. And yeah, I just had this moment on the marathon where I was like reflecting in the streets of New York, reflecting on like Gunditjmara people, like particularly Gunditjmara women, and all that our people have endured, and that we carry as well, like as the youngish generation. And yeah, I just started imagining all my people with the marathon medal around their neck. So when I did cross the finish line, it didn't feel like a marathon just around my neck. It felt like it was around everyone who had gotten me to where I was. But also a realization and kind of a slight sadness of that it didn't feel like I met a new hard because of what we face in this country. Yeah.
And that's such a powerful reflection, Sis, of what a privilege it is to have running a marathon be the hardest thing that you've ever done.
Exactly. That was the realization that I had. The tracks were empty. I'd come down to Naarm to run. It was just us, but like I think because there was a running event on in Melbourne Marathon.
There was Melbourne Marathon, yeah.
But getting up that morning after, not like with the whole country had just voted no, but Jack and I had on our training plan that we had like, was it a 30-something K run that morning? And yeah, you came in and jumped in on the course, and I remember you were wearing like an Aboriginal shirt, like a Clothing the Gap shirt, and I think I said to you like you're wearing a shirt this morning. It was
my get up, stand up, show up shirt, because that's what I felt like we needed to do the day after the referendum.
Like, you're wearing that shirt, and you were like, yeah, I am. Like, it felt kind of scary to get out and run, but we did it, and we did it together, and those were also the moments that that.
No, it's been a pleasure to support you, Sis, and to play a tiny little part in your journey. Speaking of your journey, after New York, you came home, and in true Sis fashion, you did something else, which was Take Back the Track. Tell us about how Take Back the Track started. When did it go from being like a lingering idea that you were like, oh, I think maybe there's a thing that I could do here, to actually like pulling the pin and putting it into action?
Yeah, I think so. That whole journey of like New York, returning to running, that felt like my own kind of personal healing journey, and I was sharing bits and pieces of that on my social media, and through that I was having so many people messaging me, sharing with me their experiences, their negative experiences of running, like women and gender diverse runners sharing with me some really personal things. And I think first I needed to go on my kind of own personal healing journey, but once I'd gotten to the next chapter, I felt like I knew that what happened to me was bigger than me, and it was and I wasn't the only person in the country that had experienced violence or harassment whilst running. And so it was through running that I then, found a place of reflection, and that's where Take Back the Track was born. And I found myself in a time where I felt ready to, I guess, bring the country along with me in that healing journey, and in with that really kind of strong stance that I had throughout my training journey, was that I never wanted anyone to steal from me my love for running, and it was that kind of drove me into Take Back the Track, and it became broader, I guess. Like I refused to allow men's violence to steal from us our love and connection to running. So that's kind of where, I guess, the thought of the movement was born.
Yeah. And sis, you really have created a movement. Like I think a lot of people be like, we're creating a movement. But you actually really have. Like on Take Back the Track Day this year, so Feb 15, this year, there were dozens of events right across the country that you weren't at that were led by, you know, community leaders in their own spaces that looked and felt like you may as well have been there. Like you really have propelled something incredibly special forward. What does this feel like for you to see the response from people to really take up the call to take back the track?
You know, I remember when I first created a logo and like, I don't know if you remember, and then I posted it, created a Take Back the Track Instagram. Yeah. I posted it. I didn't really know, like I didn't have this full plan of like, this is what the movement's going to look like. I just knew that there needed to be something and was at peace that it was going to be kind of an unknown journey, you know. But I remember when I first put it out to the world, to social media, this nurse from a hospital in Melbourne messaged me and was like, oh my God, like this is exactly what we need. And she told me how when she loved running, but since starting nursing, her like shifts don't align with like the sun being up. So she's had to give up running. And she was like felt this determination. She was like, actually, I should be able to run. And yeah, it was kind of her message. I was like, okay, this is okay. Like this is needed. It's been this beautiful journey, but also one where I'm like, I wish a movement such as Take Back the Track didn't have to exist. But as I've said, like throughout the last National Take Back the Track Day, is that it does exist and it will continue to exist. But I love how we've found a balance where we're talking about the violence and harassment or the fear of that women and gender diverse runners experience across the country. But we're also, the movement is also this permission and this space to talk about what we love about running and why it's so worthy of being protected from men's violence. And I love that we've kind of along the journey managed to find that balance.
Yeah. And that's incredible, sis. Like it really is. Your love of running and connection to people and wanting to see more people love what you love about running and be able to do that more. Yeah. And then the barrier that's in the way of that is men's violence against women and gender diverse people in those spaces. So what do you say when, you know, people often say like, oh, you know, well, you shouldn't run at night and, you know, run in pairs and all of those sorts of things, like carry an alarm. Like, what's your response to that, sis?
So like I get asked this a lot, and there are a lot of movements that focus specifically on runners' safety, and I fully acknowledge the work and the need for that in the space. But Take Back the Track is a movement that's demanding that actually shouldn't exist. And so, then there needs to be the two coexisting, like where our safety is considered, that we are, you know, enacting safety measures that feel comfortable to us as individuals, but Take Back the Track is demanding that actually that shouldn't be our reality. And I refuse, and our movement refuses for that to be the continued reality for women and gender diverse runners. I think that the focus actually needs to shift on, well, men actually just shouldn't be violent. Whenever there's an attack on women and gender diverse runners, the police will come out straight away and say, run in pairs. You're like, and I remember they said that after my attack. Like I remember seeing the police media conference where the police officer was like, you know, I advise you to run in pairs. And it immediately shifts the blame onto us as runners. And I remember thinking, and it's no wonder I thought I was doing something wrong by going onto the Yarrawee Trail and moving away from the soccer oval, because the messaging is always that we're doing something wrong. Like I think in those moments, the police in particular, their messaging is so harmful to the vision of Take Back the Track, but harmful to ending violence and harassment towards women in general, whether you're a runner or not a runner. They need to use that moment to actually call out men for their violence.
The attention of everybody goes, and ourselves as well goes, where the focus gets put straight after an incident or an attack or an assault on a running trail or a track, and that shouldn't be on our behaviour.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah.
You've done nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Sis, when you think about Take Back the Track and what you're working towards now, do you want to tell us a little bit about the research project that's a part of the movement now? It's really exciting.
So there's we've got the movement, we have National Take Back the Track Day, the national day that acclaimed. Do you think there's actually a process to claiming a national day?
No, I think we just claim it right now.
We've already done it.
Yep. I think you did that ages ago. Tick. Move on.
So a really exciting element that I'm super excited about to the movement now is our research project. And it's on our website, takebackthetrack.com. I guess the vision of the research project is over the last 2 years, I've anecdotally had so many stories shared with me, which I absolutely carry in my heart and in everything that I do. But the research project, I guess, is formalising that. It's a gathering of stories and understanding more deeper the experiences of women and gender diverse runners. And the vision is for then that project to determine what we are going to do next. It's a really important element of the project and of the movement.
Absolutely, because I don't think necessarily there's a whole lot of data always around how and it's hard sometimes to put words to how you feel. You know, when you're running, you feel like you might want to change where you are, or even even yesterday I was walking from my hotel into Parliament House, and I had to walk through. My maps took me through this bit of scrubby bushland around the back of some park, and my immediate thought was, I wouldn't run here in the dark. Yeah. And we shouldn't have to feel like that. And those, I guess those icks that you get in your gut because of men's violence against women and gender diverse people while they're running and moving and walking and whatever that feels like, whatever that movement is, shouldn't have to happen at all. Sis, what's your dream for a future where Take Back the Track has done its job? Yeah. What does running feel like for women and gender diverse people in that future?
That's coming. The future is, it starts with putting the runners on, tying the laces up. It's literally just focusing on that, not as you're tying them up thinking, okay, am I safe? Is the sun up? It's running with the sunrise, with a smile on our face, and then it's, running with the sunset and feeling at peace with the day and not feeling like we're chasing the sun. We're feeling that unlimited freedom and happiness, connection, joy, and that it doesn't coincide with fear, violence, harassment.
Yeah, I love this future, sis. And I think the work that you're doing with Take Back the Track puts us one step closer, one lace up of the runners further along that journey than certainly where we are today and where we were yesterday. So thank you so much thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing. Now, people, you've mentioned the website a couple of times, so it's takebackthetrack.com.
Yep.
Also there, people can jump on and buy a T-shirt.
Yep.
Yep. They can buy a tee. They can fill out your research project survey.
Yeah, follow us on socials.
Yep. And get ready for National Take Back the Track Day next year in February.
Next year in February. And obviously it's men's responsibility as well. Like men joining the movement is a huge part of it as well. So
and there has been an incredible amount of safe men that have backed your journey too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, sis.
No, Sissy, thank you. And thank you so much for getting up really early to drive down and come and join us on Community Conversations here today. I really appreciate you. I'm so proud of you. But most importantly, you should be so bloody proud of yourself. So thank you for listening. Thanks for joining us on Community Conversations again. If something from today's episode stayed with you, we hope it starts a conversation where you are. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Don't say bye.
Bye.